myself Joshua Paul. I'm a medical student from Telangana. So today I'm here to give you 15 tips in the opening of chess. See, many people doesn't play opening seriously, but if a player commits a mistake in the opening, we can definitely take the advantage of it. So let me show you each one of them one by one. I've prepared this presentation by going through various chess books and also through my personal experience. And also I brought few interesting checkmates for the beginners. So stay tuned till the end of the video. The first thing to do in the opening is control the center. We should control the center mainly with pawns, because what are the uses of controlling the center? Controlling the center prevents opponent from attacking from center, and also placing pieces in the center control much portion of the board than placed at the periphery. Let me show you that. Controlling the center means controlling these four squares, which are d4, d5, e4, and e5. Let's see how we can control the center. Let's say we play e4, e5, knight f3, knight c6, knight c3, and knight f6. See here, we are able to control all four squares in the center. And at the same time, black is also trying to control the center. Let's say if black plays d6, he is basically trying to attack our knight, so we can play h3 by defending it. The next thing is develop your pieces quickly. It helps in planning early attacks, and it also makes you be active rather than passive. Let me show you that. Developing your pieces means developing your knights and bishops first. Let's see. Let's say we go e4, e5, knight f3, knight c6, knight c3, and bishop b4. See here, we have developed two knights, and your opponent had developed his knight and his bishop. We can kick his bishop by playing a3. He may go a5, or he may take our knight. We can simply capture by playing b takes bishop c3. The next thing is develop your pieces by tempo whenever possible. Tempo is nothing but putting pressure on the opponent's pieces. It puts pressure on the opponent and it makes the opponent waste a move. Let me show you how to put tempo on your opponent's piece. See, tempo is nothing but putting pressure on your opponent's piece. Let's say we go e4, e5, knight f3, knight c6, and bishop b5. Here we can see we are putting tempo on his knight. That means we are attacking his knight. He can't play d5 or d6 because his knight gets pinned. The next thing is do not push your other pawns unnecessarily because it weakens your territory, thereby you're more prone to get attacked. And also F stands for forget the F pawn. Let's say we go e4, e5, and do not push f3. Suppose if you push f3 and also let's say d6 and g4, your king is now very much exposed to get attacked, and you have no other option than to move your king, which also eliminates your power of castling. Next thing is bring out knights before bishops because knights are better at center. Let's see. Let's say e4, e5, knight f3, knight c6, knight c3, knight f6, and bishop c4. See here we have developed our knights first, and bishops can be developed later because now we can push d3 and also develop our bishop. Now many of our pieces are developed. The next thing is place your bishops in 4th or 5th ranks. If you place your bishop in 4th rank, it prevents opponent from castling, whereas if you put your bishop in 5th rank, it puts tempo on opponent's knight. Let's see that. Let's see the first variation where our bishop is placed in 5th rank. e4, e5, knight f3, knight c6, and bishop b5. Here, as I mentioned earlier, your bishop puts tempo on your opponent's knight. Suppose if you go c4, you're putting pressure on f7, and if he moves his f7 pawn, you are now preventing your opponent from castling. The next thing is castle as early as possible because it provides king safety and it also helps in connecting rooks. Let's see e4, e5, knight f3, knight c6, bishop b5, knight f6, knight c3, bishop c5, and here your opponent is planning some attack, so you should be careful with your king. And the best option to do here is castle. Now your king is safe and he cannot attack because your rook is defending it. The next thing we can do is try to prevent opponent from castling because it helps us to attack the vulnerable king in the center. Let's see how we can do that. Let's say suppose e4, e5, d4 and d5. Here what can you do to prevent your opponent from castling? D takes e5, d takes e4 and queen captures queen. Now black has no other option than to capture your queen, and now your opponent lost his castling property, whereas you can castle and attack his king as early as possible. Suppose if your opponent goes d6, then also we can capture on e5, d takes on e5, and queens are exchanged again. The next thing is do not push pawns in front of the king after castling because it weakens your king safety Thereby, your king will be more prone to get attacked. Let me show you that. Let's see a situation. E4, E5, knight F3, knight C6, bishop C4, D6, and let's say you castle, knight F6, knight C3, A6, and suppose if you play G3, you're giving your opponent space to enter your side. If you play G4, he can simply take your pawn. And suppose if you play H4, you're giving your opponent the chance to pin your knight. Instead, you can go H3 to prevent your opponent's bishop from attacking. The next thing is, do not bring out queen too early because queen is the most valued piece and it must be protected in the opening. Let's see what happens if you bring out your queen too early in the game. Let's see a situation. E4, E5. Suppose we play queen G4 to activate our queen. Your opponent goes knight F6. He attacks your queen. Now let's say you move queen F5. He again plays D4 and again attacks your queen. Let's say you go queen F3. Now he goes bishop G4 and again you have to move. Let's say you go queen C3 and suppose he plays D4 and let's say you go queen B3 and he goes B6. See here, you've basically done only 3 moves, whereas your opponent has developed his knight, his bishop, and also his pawns. Now here you can see that black is very much better than white. So do not do adventures with your queen early in the game. The next thing is, do not block your own pieces from developing because it makes your bishop inactive, or in chess terms we call it as bad bishop. Suppose here, after e4, e5, do not play d3 because it blocks the light square bishop from developing. Suppose you continue the game, bishop c5, knight c3, bishop c6, knight f3, and d6. See here, you can develop your dark square bishop, whereas your light square bishop is being blocked by your pawns. Next thing is, try to move each piece only once because it helps you develop other pieces. e4, e5, knight f3, knight c6, bishop c4, knight f6. Now here he is attacking your pawn. You can defend it by playing d3 or knight c3, but do not play bishop c3 because your bishop is already developed and you are again wasting a move. Instead, you can defend it by playing knight c3, which also develops your knight. Now you'll have 3 developed pieces and your opponent has only 2 developed pieces. If you defend the pawn by playing bishop c3, now your opponent develops. See here, you have only 2 developed pieces and your opponent has 3 developed pieces, and moreover, you have wasted a move. The next important thing is look out for checks, captures, and threats. Generally, this is done in mid game, but we should also consider it in the opening because it makes you be cautious against your opponent's traps. Let's see an opponent trap where we should be careful about. Let's see as black. If the game goes e4, e5, knight f3, knight c6, bishop c4, knight f6, and knight g5. Now you should spot that there is some threat here. What is the only defending move here? It is d5. Then e takes d5, knight takes d5, d3, h6, and knight f3. But if you don't play d5 and instead develop your bishop by playing bishop c5, white simply captures on f7 with check. Let's say you play king f6, bishop back to b3, black now lost the castling advantage. The next thing is avoid placing knights at the periphery. It is said that a knight on the rim is dim, and knights cover only few squares when placed at the periphery. Let's see what happens if you place your knight in the periphery. Let's say e4, e5. Do not play knight h3, instead play knight f3 because it controls only 4 squares. Let's say the game goes knight f6 and knight c3. Look at your knight here, it controls 8 squares. Whereas this knight controls only 4 squares. The final and important thing to consider is avoid giving unnecessary checks because it's simply a waste of move and it gives the opportunity for the opponent to develop his pieces. Let's see what happens if you give unnecessary checks. Let's see e4, e5, knight f3, d6, and here you spotted a check for your opponent. But playing it is very much unnecessary because your opponent can easily defend by playing c6 and you should now come back. Instead, he can also play bishop d7. Now, if you exchange your bishops, you basically exchange your active bishop for his inactive bishop. Now let's see some of the common endgames for beginners. So let's start with rook king versus king endgame. Coming to rook king versus king endgame, the first thing to remember here is do not give random checks to the opponent's king. It may result in draw by repetition or draw by 50 move rule. So here we can checkmate the opponent's king only by utilization of opposition of king. What is opposition of king? Opposition is nothing but two kings lying apart with a square in the middle. Let's say two kings are here and here. See, there is a gap in between. This is called as opposition. If king is here, see, this is called as opposition. So, if opposition takes place and you give a check here, the king has nowhere to go than to move back. We are going to utilize this trick to checkmate the opponent's king. We can checkmate the opponent's king in the peripheral rows, such as first rank, eighth rank, or A file and H file. Now we play rook d4 and we are cutting the opponent's king to enter this side. So let's say he plays this. Here he is attacking your rook, so move your rook to the other side. See here, you do not play the opposition because his king escapes. Instead, move your rook one step ahead. Now if we place opposition, we can check the opponent's king and he must go back. Now let's say he escapes again. Now the black king has no other option than to go back or place it in opposition to the king. If you place in opposition to the king, we can give check and now he has to go back. See here, he has no other option than to go back or place it in opposition to our king. And we give a check here. Let's say he goes back. And now this is checkmate. Now let's see queen king versus king endgame. Coming to queen king versus king endgame. Here you can checkmate the opponent's king by using your queen as a rook, just as I showed you earlier. But if you think that takes more time, you can checkmate the opponent's king by this method. See here, the first thing to remember here is, just as before, do not give random checks to the opponent's king. It may result in stalemate, draw by repetition, or draw by 50 move rule. So here, see here, listen carefully. We should push the opponent's king to the corner of the board. It may be any corner. And we have to place our queen in the last but one row and 3 squares away from the corner. That means here, here. That means if king is here, we should place our queen here. Let's see how we can do that. See here, black king is not going to get stalemated because he has 2 rows to go to and fro. And now we'll bring our king to the opposition and checkmate the opponent's king. And now this is checkmate. Let's see knight pawn and king versus king endgame. Coming to knight pawn king versus king endgame. See here in this position, many beginners think that this is definitely lost for black because he thinks that white king is away and black king definitely captures his knight and his pawn. But this is not the case. See, in this case, we do not require our king to get our pawn promoted to a queen. See here, there is only one thing to remember. We should protect our pawn by our knight, but placing it away from the pawn's promotion side. That means your knight should not be placed here, 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 and here. It should be away from the pawn's promotion side. That means you can place it here, 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 or here. Let's say the black comes to attack our knight. Now we should just move our king. We need not even come to rescue our pieces. So the black comes to attack our pieces. And here remember that let the black king take our knight. If he takes our knight, we can easily get promoted to a queen. Let's say he takes our knight, and now he cannot stop our pawn from getting promoted to a queen. And you know how to checkmate with a queen and a king. Now let's see bishop, pawn, and king versus king and game. Coming to bishop pawn endgame, if you have a corner pawn, the first thing to consider here is does your pawn promotion square matches with that of the color of your bishop? See here, your pawn is getting promoted in a light square and you also have a light square bishop. So only in this case you can promote your pawn to a queen. Whereas if you have a dark square bishop and your pawn promoting square is a light square, that game is definitely a draw. So here I'll show you how to promote your pawn if you have a same colored bishop. So you should take the help of your king to promote your pawn to a queen. And if your king is too far and the black king is trying to attack your pawn, protect your pawn by bishop. So let's see. Now you cannot take your pawn, and if he comes to attack your bishop, you can simply promote your pawn. So if he tries to block the pawn, you should now activate your king. Now you have made the opposition to the king, now he must go back. And now you know how to checkmate with the queen. Let's see the other case where your pawn is not in the corner but in the center of the board. See here, irrespective of the pawn promotion square and the color of the bishop, you can definitely promote your pawn to a queen. Let me show you how it's done. And now you know how to checkmate with the queen. Now let's see two pawns and king versus king endgame. First, let's see the variation where your two pawns are apart. See, let's say your black king comes to attack one of the pawn. You can easily promote your other pawn to the queen. So we'll protect only one pawn to get promoted to a queen. Let's say he attacks this pawn. You can now promote your other pawn to the queen. And if he goes to attack this pawn, you can promote this pawn to a queen. Now let's see this variation where you have two connected pawns. You should always try to place your king behind the connected pawns so that he cannot enter this square. See, this is the position where you should be very careful with your king And do not place your king behind your pawns as done earlier, because if you place your king here, the black king has nowhere to go, and this is called as stalemate, which is draw. So instead, put your king in this square. Now black king has only one square to move, and he moves and he goes here. And now you can occupy this square. And now black king has to go somewhere. So let's say he goes here. You can now easily promote to a queen and win this endgame. Finally, let's see single pawn and king versus king endgame. Coming to single pawn endgame, this is one of the most commonly confused endgames for the beginners. Let's see the first variation where you have an isolated pawn and your king is away from protecting it. So now you'll think that black king can easily capture your pawn, but let's see if that's the case. See, I will teach you one trick where you can calculate whether the black king can capture your pawn or not. See, there are 4 squares to get promoted to a queen. So let's draw a square by using 4 squares. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, and 4. So if it's white to move, we can definitely promote our pawn to a queen. But if it's black to move, he enters into the square we have drawn, and now he can easily capture our pawn. So let's see the first variation where if it's white to move. Now we can easily win this endgame by using our queen. See here in this variation, let's again draw a square. See here, let's say now it's white to move, but the black king is within the square we have drawn, so it can easily capture our pawn. And now this is draw. Coming to this variation where you have your king to protect your pawn, and you can win this position only if you get this kind of position. And if you get this position and it's white to move, it is definitely a draw, and I will show you how to draw this position if you are black. Now let's come back to this position where you can win as white here. See, observe carefully how I play with white. He has only these squares to go. Here you should go to the other side and create a wall here. And now you can easily win this endgame. Now I'll show you how to draw this position if you are black. See here, mainly the opposition helps you draw this game. See, if white king goes here, you must definitely play the opposition. And if he pushes his pawn, you should place it in the same line. And if he goes behind the pawn, now if all are in same line, you can push your king backwards. And now this is stalemate, that means a draw. See here, in this case, when you have an isolated pawn in the corner, and even though if your king is helping it, this game is definitely a draw. See, let's see. Because here the black king goes to the corner and gets stalemated. Now you can't push your king, and this is stalemate. Now let's see a few interesting checkmates for beginners. First, let's see what is fool's mate. Fool's mate happens when white plays f3. That's why I told you earlier, f stands for forget the f pawn. Do not move your f pawn in the opening. Suppose let's say if white plays f3, e5 and g4. What is the winning move here? Queen h4 is checkmate. So here f also stands for fool's mate. So do not push your f pawn. Now let's see what is called as mate. Let's see e4, e5, bishop c4, d6, queen h5, knight f6, and queen captures f7 is checkmate. The next one is ladder mate. Ladder mate happens if it's an endgame of two rooks versus king or rook queen versus king. It's called as ladder mate because it resembles the pattern of a ladder. So let's observe the pattern of a ladder here. See, you can clearly see that king is moving in a pattern of a ladder. That's why this mate is called as ladder mate. And be careful in this position. You should not give rook h6 check because you lose your rook. Now let's see what is smothered mate. Here knight f7 is checkmate, and this is called as smothered mate because here black king is desperate to move but is suffocated by being surrounded by his own pieces. And now let's see what is back rank mate. Back rank checkmate is an important checkmate even in top rated games. Here rook g8 is checked and black has no other option than to bring his rook to e8. Now rook takes e8 and this is checkmate. See here white had played prophylactic move b3 to prevent any back rank mate, but black didn't play any prophylactic moves like a6 or b6, which resulted in back rank checkmate. So that's it for today. I hope you learned what all to consider to play a decent opening in chess and also how to play a few common endgames in chess. Thank you very much.